Today, we're going back to the basics of marketing. If there's something in your marketing system that you feel like isn't working, it's probably because you have one of the 8 pieces of the marketing framework missing. Today, I'm going to teach you what those 8 pieces are, and I think it's going to be eye-opening for some of you. You're going to see exactly where you need to be focusing here in the next few weeks to get things fixed. Are you ready? Let's get started.
Hey there, this is Corinna Bench, and welcome to the My Digital Farmer podcast. In today's market, it's not enough to just grow your product. You've got to know how to sell it too. Welcome to the My Digital Farmer podcast, where we reveal online marketing strategies and tips to help farmers like you get better and more confident at marketing. Learn how to find more customers, increase your sales, and build a strong brand for your farm. Let's start the show.
Well, welcome to episode 255 of the My Digital Farmer podcast. I am your host, Corinna Bench, one of the farmers at Shared Legacy Farms out in Elmore, Ohio. I'm also the founder of MyDigitalFarmer.com, which is all about trying to help other farmers like you get more confident in your marketing and sales strategies so that you can grow a profitable farm business. How's everyone doing today? Welcome back to the show. A big shout out to all of my regular listeners and binge listeners. If you're new to the podcast, I'm really glad you're here today. Make sure that you go and subscribe to the show and check out my back issues. There are so many good episodes. I always tell people to go to the first 10 if you're looking for a place to start, because when I made those long ago, I did actually design them intentionally to be a little bit of an onboarding ramp into the marketing lingo. You can also get onto my email list. That's a really great first step if you want to learn farm marketing. Go to mydigitalfarmer.com/subscribe, because when you do, I'm going to send you an email like probably twice a week for about 3 months. And it's going to be kind of like the roadmap through the marketing jungle. I'm going to share with you some freebies, some tools, people you should follow, key principles, and it's going to be a real education. So mydigitalfarmer.com/subscribe. Today's episode is sponsored by my friends at LocalLine. Make the switch to LocalLine and scale your farm business. LocalLine is the all-in-one sales platform for farmers and food hubs. Increase your sales and streamline your processes with features including e-commerce, inventory management, subscriptions, online payments, price lists, and more. Now, unlike many generic e-commerce platforms, LocalLine is actually built for selling local food online. So whether you're a CSA farmer like us, or you sell meat, or you run a food hub, or you sell wholesale, or offer a herd share, LocalLine has the tools and features that you'll need to succeed. Subscriptions start as low as $49 a month with no setup fees, and there are no sales percentages. Plus, if you join LocalLine today, your onboarding manager will help get your storefront migrated at no cost. You'll be up and running in no time. And you guys, their service is outstanding. Bonus, as a podcast listener, LocalLine is also offering a free premium feature for 1 year with your subscription when you use my coupon code MDF2024. So any premium feature that you want, you get to choose. Make the switch today. Go to mydigitalfarmer.com/LocalLine and then enter in that coupon code MDF2024 to get that free premium feature. And now back to the show. Today, we are going back to the basics. That's right. As we begin our new farm season here in a few weeks, I thought it would be appropriate to have an episode where we review the fundamental framework behind marketing in general. Now, this particular topic is near and dear to my heart because it is the framework on which everything that I have taught or that I teach to farm marketing school and to accelerator members is based. If you look at any of the different farm marketing assets that you might want to build, they all fall into one of these areas of the framework. There is actually a system, a rhyme and a reason behind why marketing works. And if you don't know what the framework is, then you're kind of shooting from the hip, right? You're sort of putting a bunch of marketing out there, but you're not exactly sure what it's doing or why it needs to be there or what the rhyme and reason is behind it. And so I know I have a lot of people that have sort of discovered me maybe in the last few months, maybe even in the last year. And maybe you haven't gone back and listened to some of my back issues when I first started, where I kind of began with these framework pieces. And so I thought it would be a good idea at episode 255 to review the fundamentals and to go over that 8-step framework on which all of my marketing is based and on which all of your marketing should be based. So what I decided to do is actually pull an episode from my archives. I think it's episode 4. And I'm going to be sharing this old episode here in just a second. And it's going to walk you through a training of what are these different pieces in the marketing framework. And when I re-listened to it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. It's just as timeless as ever. And even if you've heard it before, I think it's a good idea to listen to it again because it's going to bring up some stuff for you. You're going to think about the stuff you're doing right now in your marketing for your farm business. You're going to recognize how you are acing some of the steps and some of the areas in the framework. And then there are some places that you are completely ignoring. And it may be helpful for you to see and to diagnose why you're having some of the issues you're having. It could just be because you don't have one of the things in place. And so it's locking up the pipeline. So this particular element or training is something that I cover in depth inside of Farm Marketing School and Accelerator. It's actually one of the parts of the onboarding process. I require people to take this customer value journey class first because everything that is taught inside of Farm Marketing School is all of the different projects that you build, like they are based on this framework. And so I want to make sure you know why we're building the assets and which ones you should be building first, right? So this particular replay of episode, I think it was episode 4 of the My Digital Farmer podcast, is kind of an overview. We go into more depth inside of Farm Marketing School, but I think it's going to be really, really helpful. So as you listen to this, I want you to put it through the lens of your business, and I want you to think about, okay, which parts of this framework am I doing well? What are the marketing assets that I seem to have a lot of? Maybe you have a lot of them in one particular area of your funnel, but you don't have a lot in another, right? So I want you to kind of be watching and auditing your own sales funnel through this lens. And if this intrigues you and you feel like, wow, this makes sense, this is resonating, then you might want to look at taking Farm Marketing School for a few months, just joining my monthly membership, going in there and taking, building out a few projects for some of the assets that you're missing in your marketing system. So without further ado, I'm going to switch it over to the recording. Now, keep in mind that this was done like 2 years ago. And so there might be some references in there to things in history that are no longer relevant. So just keep that in mind. But the guts of the episode are super good. And I hope you get a lot out of it. Let's go.
I am so glad you're here with me today because this episode is going to be a doozy. In fact, I think it's going to be one of the episodes that I refer back to again and again because the content in here is so foundational to understanding the marketing journey for your customer. We are going to be talking about something called the customer value journey. And I'm going to be sharing with you a map, a set of stages and phases that a typical person walks through in your brand to turn them from a basic stranger who's completely unaware of who you are into a friend, a buyer, and ultimately a super fan who becomes a promoter of your brand. Now, in last week's episode, I introduced this concept of traffic and knowing the different traffic sources and putting your offer in front of the right traffic and knowing how to warm up that traffic through this process that we call kind of a funnel. And I kind of teased out that I would be sharing with you what that typical process looks like for brands. So what I'm going to share with you today, this customer value journey map, is not just something that works for agriculture and for farm businesses, but this is used in the digital marketing space for all kinds of e-commerce businesses. And I know it's used in other brick and mortar businesses too. Marketers know about this journey. They know about the phases that customers go through, and they build a marketing strategy with this map in mind. So you can find all the show notes for today's episode at mydigitalfarmer.com/004, including the customer value journey map that we are going to walk through step by step. And you guys, of like all the things that I have made for farmers in my private Facebook group, I really feel like this map is something you should go and download. So you can go to mydigitalfarmer.com/004 to the show notes and find the link there to download it. This is a one-page map. It's going to show you the different boxes and the different stages. Print it out, put it somewhere on your wall by your computer, and just have it there for a few months until you memorize them, because really seeing them in front of you is going to help you visualize this journey, and you're going to know what you need to do to move your customers through it better. So the customer value journey map is a tool that I use all the time to kind of help me remind me where my customers might be in terms of temperature. Are they cold, warm, hot? And where are they in my process? Where are those different milestones in the journey, and where have they stopped? Where do they need to move now? And what do I need to do to get them to move to the next step? So as we start this podcast, I want us to kind of first and foremost land on the importance of sequence when we're talking about our messaging, when we're trying to move people into our brand and trying to get them to buy something. Ultimately, we've got to understand the importance of sequence. You could have the most amazing copy in your email or in your website ever, but if it's in the wrong point in the sales journey for wherever your customer is in that journey, it's not going to resonate with them. If you speak a particular message too soon, they just won't resonate. And if your copy is decent, I mean, just basic decent, but you deliver it at the exact right time, it will convert. It will have an amazing effect. So you don't have to be this amazing copywriter all the time. You just have to understand when to deliver the message and when to wait. So we talked about this in episode 3, but I want to bring it up again in case you didn't hear that episode. We need to think about relationships and how relationships work. What most marketers are doing, and what you may be doing in your brand, is that you start out by essentially saying, "Hi, nice to meet you. Let's get married." All right. And this is what happens for CSA farmers who have a big ticket item in their product suite. You know, I have a $420 CSA share. That's pretty much like one of my main products. And when I just try to sell that right after I've met someone to a cold audience, that's essentially what we're doing. We're trying to just say, "Hi, nice to meet you. Let's get married." And that is not the right sequence, right? You've got to honor the process of building relationships. And in the scope of today's conversation, we're going to say you've got to honor the customer value journey. We've got to understand that there are stages of intimacy in relationships. And there's this guy named Desmond Morez. I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right, but he actually researched something called the 12 stages of human intimacy. And there are actually, this is based on research, studying humans and how they tend to interact. And there's like eye to body, and then eye to eye. We make eye to eye contact. And then it moves from hand to hand when we shake someone's hand and meet them for the first time. And then maybe it's a hand to shoulder, and it slowly progresses up in intimacy levels. So there is a natural progression to how we get to know one another as humans. And while you can maybe skip one stage and get away with it, if you try to leapfrog more than two, that person is going to feel like it's going to feel uncomfortable. They're going to feel a little bit violated, like it's just not honoring the right process. You're going for too much too soon. And so this is not just true in relationships, but it's true for sales and when we write copy to try and move people or pitch a sale to someone. So it's not just about the action. What I'm trying to hit home here, it's about the sequence. And you've got to know when you craft your message, when you write a piece of copy for email or for a Facebook ad, or when you put a video together or you build an offer, you've got to write it a certain way based on where people are in the journey. So if I write an email and I'm sending it out to a person who's really new in my funnel, like a very cold audience for the most part, they're a newbie, I'm going to write in a different way. I'm going to have a different length of email. I'm going to talk a different language. I'm not going to have the same familiarity that I might have with someone who's a repeat buyer, right? So the role of marketing and messaging and copywriting specifically is to move prospects seamlessly and subtly through each stage of this customer value journey that we're going to talk about here. And we're not always trying to make a sale, right? Sometimes we're just trying to move them to the next stage. This is called conversion copywriting out in the copywriting space. Sometimes we're just trying to get them to do the next micro conversion to move them into the next box. So as we're thinking about our marketing messaging and our strategy, I'm always asking myself, what levers do I need to push to move this customer to the next stage in this 8-part series journey? All right.
Today's podcast is sponsored by Farm Marketing School. This is my monthly membership where farmers can come in and build marketing assets one at a time in special 30-day build projects that I've created for you. Right now, there are like 8 projects inside of Farm Marketing School, and every month a new one gets added, and you basically subscribe for 30 days, or you can stay in for a couple months or 3 months. You can stay in the whole year. But what you're doing is you go inside and you decide, this is the project that I want to work on. You take the class, the workshop class that's recorded, you just watch it, and then you build it yourself. So this is the DIY version of Accelerator. There's no coaching element or mastermind or Zoom meetups. It's just you going in there, watching the class that the accelerators saw live with me, and then working on it on your own. So if you're a DIY type of person and you think you can do it yourself, this is an amazing resource. There are projects in there for how to build a promotion plan, how to build your email nurture sequence, how to write a great weekly email, how to build the website homepage messaging, what goes on that homepage, how to build a lead magnet, and more. So if you want to see what's in the Farm Marketing School, you can head to mydigitalfarmer.com/FMS. And I encourage you to subscribe for 1 month. Check it out. I have a whole onboarding, like a crash course in marketing that I encourage you to take in your first week. There's an assessment inside of there that's going to help you know which elements you should build first. It's so good, and I would love it if you would give it a shot for a month. Let me know what you think, and if you decide you like it, you can stay in there for several months in the off season and get a ton of your marketing stuff done.
Okay, so let's talk about this customer value journey. And if you get a chance, I want you again to go to the show notes, mydigitalfarmer.com/004, and you're going to find a link in there for the customer value journey map. Please print that out, download it, print it out, and maybe take some notes in each of the boxes as we go through here, because it's going to help you remember what's supposed to happen at each stage of the journey. So this is basically a piece of paper. It has 8 boxes on it, and they're arranged in a grid formation following kind of a journey, sort of like a flow chart. And it represents the 8 steps that customers take when they move through any brand. So if a brand does their job right, they're going to have prospects that move through this journey until they get to the end. Now, remember, this journey is not for everyone. I want to reiterate that. This is for your ideal customer. So your ideal customer, if you do your job right as a marketer and do your messaging right, they are going to move through all 8 of these stages. People who are not your ideal customer will hit a stage and they will stall and they will fall away. And that's okay. So this is just helpful to know for your ideal buyer, because you're trying to coach them from one stage to the next. All right, so here we go. The 8 steps. So I want you to picture this piece of paper because I know you can't see it right now. So it's basically like 3 boxes on the bottom right next to each other. And then above that, there's another kind of a long rectangular box on the left-hand side that looks like a ladder. And then there's 4 more boxes next to that on the right-hand side. Okay, so the first step, it's not even on the box, but we need to start with unaware. So the very first step is like being unaware. They don't even know that you exist. All right. And then each of these boxes progresses in this order. I'm going to list them all out and then we're going to dive into them in detail one by one. So the first box is awareness. The second box is engage. Third, subscribe. Step 4 is convert. Step 5, excite. Step 6, ascend. This is the one that has a ladder on it. They ascend the ladder. Step 7 is advocate. And step 8 is promote. All right, those are the 8 steps. So let's walk through what each one represents and what's happening in each stage of the customer value journey. So step 1 is awareness. All right, this is where a customer simply becomes aware that you exist. They become aware that you have a product or a service. So they might see an ad or a post on one of your social media channels. They might walk by your stand at the farmer's market and see your banner. They might see somebody walking around the farmer's market with your box of CSA vegetables and it's got, this sticker on it with your logo. And they keep seeing these boxes everywhere and they're like, what is that? They become aware. They might hear about you from a referral. All right. So this is just very basic awareness where first they didn't know anything about you and now they're kind of aware you're on their radar a little bit. So if you are writing copy for a Facebook ad, for instance, and you're trying to hit someone who's in the awareness stage and you want to move them to the next stage, you might write an ad that's simply trying to get them to comment because you want to move them to the next stage. You're not necessarily trying to get them to buy anything yet, okay? Because the second stage that we want to move to next is called engage, the engagement phase. So we move from basic awareness. Now we're actually engaging in some way with your brand. And this is when a glance from across the room becomes a stare. Okay, that's the best way I can describe it. So an example of behavior that manifests itself in this stage would be a prospect might actually go and read a blog post that you shared on your website or on one of your social channels. They're a little more interested, so they go and read up a little bit more. They spend more time. Or maybe they watch a video and now they actually comment on the video. Or maybe they reach out through Messenger and ask a question. Okay, maybe they go to your YouTube channel and watch a long form video on your YouTube channel, or they pick up a brochure at the market and they actually read it and look at it, or they go to your website and stare at one of your pages for a little bit and read some information. Okay, this is when a glance becomes a stare. Again, the goal here is not to sell anything yet. It's just to move them from being aware of you to, hey, I'm actually going to try and engage with you in some way. Okay? Now, when you think about these first 2 steps in the journey, the awareness phase and the engagement phase, there are a few goals that we have when we're marketers, copywriters, and I want to kind of share those with you. In these 2 phases, we're trying to increase brand awareness. Okay, we're not trying to sell stuff yet. We're just trying to increase brand awareness. We might be trying to increase engagement with our prospects, right? We want them to message us, or maybe we pose questions on social so that they'll respond in the comment section. We just want them to start a conversation. We do want to increase offer awareness. So since they're paying attention now to our brand, we might throw an offer out there every now and then, but not necessarily so they buy it, but just so they become aware of what we offer in the first place, so they can start thinking about it. Another goal we might have is to grow our website visitors, our website traffic. Okay, so if we put a post up on Facebook, for instance, that leads them to our website. Now, another target or goal we could have is to grow a retargeting list. So we could tell Facebook to create a custom audience of people who visit our website or visit a specific page on our website. So when we, in this kind of first and second stage, when we create content that's going to make people go to those places, well, one of our goals is to pixel them so that we can build a website audience, and then we can pitch something later to that audience to move them to the next stage. Okay, so those are just some examples of goals that we might have in the first and second stage. Notice we are not selling anything yet. Okay, we are still in the cold section of the temperature scale. We're kind of warming up our audience. Okay, the third stage, if you were looking at this map, it's the box in the right-hand bottom quadrant. And this is called the subscribe phase. And this is where we get our prospect to actually give us their contact information and permission to follow up in exchange for something valuable, all right? And in the digital marketing space, this is often some kind of a freebie or a digital PDF file. Or maybe it's, hey, you want to watch a 3-part video series where I teach you XYZ, or I share how to fill out a cut list. And if you want to see that, you got to give me your email address. Okay. So this is where people will opt in. They'll share their email contact information, and they're basically raising their hand and saying, I'm interested in something. So we as marketers, as business owners, can see what they're raising their hand for. And then that helps us know this is a person who's now qualified, right? Like I can send them information on this topic because they have shown me that they're interested and they've given permission for me to start connecting with them in a more serious way. So now we're not just staring at each other from across the room, but we're actually kind of shaking hands for the first time and starting to talk and have a conversation. So what this looks like in my business, for example, is I have a couple of freebies. One is called the A to Z Vegetable Storage Guide. This is a, 50 page document, illustrated guide of every vegetable and fruit that we provide, plus like storage tips and how to handle it. And I just give this away for free. So there's a pop-up box that comes in and says, hey, do you want this? If so, give me your email address. And so I get a lot of email leads this way. Another one that I use is called the CSA Harvest Calendar. This is just a table, a grid of all the vegetables that we grow, kind of next to the different 18 weeks of our season. And I have little X marks in the boxes to show them when we might have those vegetables on any given week. And this is a very popular download for people who are interested in my CSA. So if they're going through the sales page on my website and they kind of scroll down, they'll eventually come to, hey, do you want to know what's going to be in the box? Well, I happen to know that's a very popular question. And that's actually one of the objections or one of the reasons that people don't continue with the buying process, because they want some more clarity about that. So a lot of people who are interested in CSA will want to download that, and they will give me their contact information in exchange for that important piece of information. Now, this is awesome because a really, really great PDF guide like this, what it does for me, it doesn't just give me their email address, but it tells me, it qualifies this lead, because nobody would download something called the CSA Harvest Calendar Guide unless they were interested in a CSA. So I have a lot more confidence as I follow up with them that they are really interested in this product. I'm talking to a much warmer audience than just a random Joe that's watching my Facebook page. So this particular strategy is called a lead magnet. When we create some kind of attractive bait that people will give us their email information for, or their contact information, it could be a phone number too, in some cases, in exchange for something that they want, okay? So the subscribe phase is a very important phase because now someone has actually taken action. It's a higher level of commitment than just commenting on a Facebook post or watching a video kind of passively. Now they're reaching out and actually saying, I'm ready to start kind of talking to you. This is sort of like the phase when you're dating someone. It's like, here's my number. I'm willing to give you my phone number so that we can reach out and talk some more. Okay, the next stage in the customer value journey that happens after someone subscribes is the convert stage. Okay, this is the box right above the subscribe box on this map. And in the convert stage, the relationship changes significantly because now they are ready to make an initial purchase. So this is where a person will make a small purchase of dollars or time. They make a commitment of time. That could be another way that they could do this in exchange for like beginning this relationship. This is almost like the first date in a dating relationship. So, for example, if you do webinars, that might be an example of like somebody giving up an hour of their day so they can learn more about your CSA program. Okay. Or in some cases, it's actually money. Like they make an initial purchase, a lower dollar purchase, a front end offer that changes this relationship. They have now spent money or given significant amounts of time to you. So this is a greater sense of commitment, right? People don't do this unless they are starting to trust you and they're interested in you. So this is a very key moment in the customer value journey when the relationship switches from being passive to, hey, I'm engaged with you now. Like, I want to work with you. I want to try you out. Okay. In stage 5, we now move on to the middle box in this map, the customer value journey map. This one is, I think, one of the most important ones. It's called the excite phase. The excite phase. Do your customers have fun with your product? Do they like your product? Are they getting value out of your product? Are they being excited by this first time purchase? So someone is just converted, right? They've just bought something from you. And now they are, hopefully, if you do your job right, they need to go through an excite phase. And this is where a lot of companies, I think, may be missing the boat because we make that sale and then we just stop talking. It's like, all right, I got my money off of them. I'm good. So what I want to challenge you to think about here is, what are you doing after that initial customer purchase to give them a quick win or help them see like this transformation, this immediate transformation that reaffirms this purchase, that makes them feel like I did the right thing by going into business with this company. So what does this look like? How are you training people to use your product? We want them to get excited about what they have consumed. So like with my CSA box, I have a customer onboarding sequence, a welcome sequence as soon as they buy, where I share with them like 3 steps. Like, here's what I want you to do first, second, third. I show them, how to use my CSA training library in the academy. And I show them, these are the videos that I want you to watch first so that you maximize your box. I talk about how to get into my private Facebook group and why they would want to be in the private Facebook group. And then inside that private Facebook group, I actually have a process, a training program for how to use food. We do weekly unboxing videos. We talk about storage. We have challenges 4 times a year where we teach people and challenge people to learn how to use different cooking utensils, or like the Instant Pot challenge or the Lunchbox challenge, to make them do things and to make them grow, right? I want them to grow as customers, so I'm challenging them. We have farm events, workshops where they can come and learn things. We do things in our private Facebook group to try and build community so they can have touch points with other foodies and feel like they're part of a bigger tribe. So I really feel like retention, at least for CSAs, customer retention really revolves around this step in the customer value journey. And if you're having issues with customer retention year after year, this may be the place to work first. We work so hard to convert our customers and get them to buy something. But then we don't really take the time to take care of them, I think, the way that we should. We always keep our eye on, how can I get more leads? How can I get more people in the pipeline? When I think if we take more of our attention and really try to serve our current customers and keep them there, that's going to solve a lot of this retention problem. So we want them to experience value from what they just purchased, and we want it to come quickly. So crafting a journey and a strategy, building mechanisms in our business that ensure that happens, like creating a private Facebook group for your CSA community, like creating an onboarding email sequence that teaches people the 3 things they need to do next and kind of walks them through the next steps in their journey. Making, like in my case, I built an online academy where they can go and watch video tutorials, download veggie ebooks, learn all this stuff about how to use their box if they want to. So creating mechanisms that will hit this stage in the journey is so, so key. So what can you bake into this process, this customer value journey process, that will give your customers who have just bought a quick win? Because if they aren't excited, here's the thing, the sale won't stick. And they won't move to the next stage in the journey, which is called the ascend phase. And frankly, in the ascend phase is where you are maximizing your revenue as a business owner. So I really feel like we need to pay attention to the excite phase. And a lot of farms, a lot of businesses, frankly, don't spend time here. And instead, they just really focus on that conversion piece, that conversion box, getting people to buy the product, and then not necessarily really caring and serving the best they can in the excite phase. So when we first learned about this 8-step customer value journey map, it was the excite phase that got my attention, because I recognized very quickly if I spend a lot of my effort and time in building that piece, building community, creating support for my members so that they know how to use the product, growing them, transforming them, then I'm going to unlock the dam. I mean, people were getting bottlenecked right here in the excite box, and they weren't moving forward into the next stage because I wasn't meeting this need. All right. The next step is step 6, and this is called the ascend phase. And on this map, when you download it, it's the box that has a ladder in it. It literally looks like a ladder. And I want you to think about how people go up a ladder, right? They ascend it, they climb the rungs. And so that's what we want our customers to do. They've been excited. They've had their purchase validated. They're like, yes, I made the right decision. I like this brand. I did the right thing. And now they're ready to move onto the ladder. And this is where they then buy more things. We place additional offers. We do an upsell and then another upsell and another upsell. And as they stay with us year after year after year, if that retention piece happens, they continue to climb the ladder and ascend into our brand. So typically, it takes more than just one product experience to turn someone into a raving fan or brand ambassador. You need to craft multiple buying experiences, multiple products in your product suite. And I'll be talking about that in a future episode, something called the value ladder. We need to create a value ladder in our business so that we actually have things for people to buy more of. Because if you only have one thing, your customer wants to grow in your brand, but if there's nothing else for them to buy, they cannot ascend in this journey. So as you develop your business, if you're just at phase 1 and you've only got one product, that's okay. But just be aware that over time, you will need to create additional offers within your brand if you want to grow your ideal customer avatar. All right, so the goals for step 5 and 6 for the excite phase and the ascend phase can be summarized like this. I think number 1, we want to help our customers use the product, teach them how to use the product. We want to grow our referrals. We want to increase retention. We want to increase buyer frequency, right? So we can increase revenue, average customer revenue. And we want to build community and a sense of tribe. Okay, so those are kind of the big picture goals as I'm thinking about, as I'm writing copy, as I'm creating strategies and mechanisms in my business, as I'm creating offers in my marketing funnel. Those are some of the things that I think about for people who are in this stage of the journey. I have to talk to them differently than I would for someone who's in the engage phase, right? Who hasn't even given me their email address. I'm not going to speak to them the same way. So let's move on now to step 7. So we're almost at the end. We've got 8 steps in this journey. Step 7 is called advocacy, the advocacy stage. And this is where you have your longtime customers who have been buying many things from you again and again. They've ascended this ladder. And now we want them to write a testimonial. We want them to talk about how they love your product. This is where a successful customer becomes a case study or shares a testimonial. Now, here's why this was kind of mind-blowing for me when I learned the value of making someone tell a testimonial. Let me just share this with you. We want our customers, our best customers, to actually acknowledge and report the value they've received from our brand. We want them to say it out loud or type it out, okay? You want them to actually go through that physical process, because when they do, this is based on like neuroscience, okay, studies that have been done. When people do this, the actual act of speaking, I loved this product, or sharing it with someone, or typing it out on a Facebook post, or going to a testimonial on your Google site and giving you a raving review. Like when they do that, something shifts in their mind. There's just something about how brains work that when we make a statement, when we make a claim and say, this is what I believe or this is what I stand for, our mind wants to stay true to that action. And it's very hard for us to backpedal. This is why you see in the election cycle, for instance, our loyalty to our candidates, even when they do things that are crazy and like sometimes a little scandalous, we will not back down. We will continue to support them because we said we would. We already said we believe in them, and we don't want to retract that. It's very hard for the human brain to do that. So we want our customers in this customer value journey, we want to create a process that really encourages them at this stage to make a testimonial, because this kind of forces them to turn into an advocate. And once they're an advocate, it's very hard for them to not be an advocate anymore. So when I think about this step, like I have built mechanisms into my business now for these types of customers who are ready for this step. I have certain times of the year when I ask them to share share a testimonial. I tell them, go to my Google site, go to my Facebook page, my business page, and share a testimonial. And I recently did this, and I think I had 22 people actually go and do this for me. And I didn't just do it because I want to have updated testimonials on my sites. I did it because I know that this is an important step that I want to coach my members to do, because it moves them up into the final quadrant of the customer value journey. You could also do a poll on your Facebook page or inside your group, and then people will comment on the poll and essentially spout out a testimonial. You could do a survey and send out a survey, ask a question in that survey that basically coaches a testimonial to share why they love your farm. That works too, okay? It doesn't have to be a testimonial that everyone else can see. You just want to get them to say, I really love this brand. I also sometimes do an email, a broadcast email to my list, where I just ask them in the PS to share one way that they've grown as a part of being in my CSA. And I will usually get 10 to 15 people who will write back and say something to me. Again, I don't necessarily need that for myself. I just want to do it because I know it's an important step in this process. So coming up with some kind of a strategy to make sure that people move into this phase is important. All right. Okay, the final stage is step number 8, and it is the promoter stage. Promoter stage. This is a little bit similar to the advocate, but I feel like when people arrive here, this is the holy grail. This is where where your super fans live. And these are the people, your ideal customer avatars, who are actively promoting your brand to their friends. And they just do it as a natural extension of themselves. They are so indoctrinated into your brand that they will go out of their own free will and just talk about you and naturally bring customers to you. And in the digital marketing space, they can even become official affiliates of the brand. So this is where you are creating a loyal army of marketers that essentially become unpaid and help bring people to you. So I have probably 5 or 6 people within my CSA who are definitely in this quadrant. I would say that many of them are kind of in the advocate stage, but I have a few that are in the promote stage. These are the majority of people who bring me new customers fall into this category. Like when I look at the people who refer, when I get new customers who say, oh, I was referred by, there's like 5 or 6 people that constantly get mentioned. And that's how you know, oh, these are my promoters. They have reached that top quadrant. So the goals for the advocate and the promote stage for phases 7 and 8 are, number 1, you want to build loyalty. You want to indoctrinate your tribe. So this is where in your copy, in your relationship language, in your weekly emails, just how you relate to them, you're really trying to teach them your tribe language, help them feel like they're a part of a bigger picture, a bigger vision, sort of like the way I shared a story in one of the past episodes about my passion for Lego and how I have turned into a brand ambassador for them. You want people who are just talking you up, who have like taken on the values of your brand and live them out as an extension in their life, okay? Another goal for these 2 stages is to increase the number of referrals that you get. Also to increase testimonials. So you want to get people to make testimonials because that's going to continue to move them forward into the promote stage. We're also focusing on increasing retention here and obviously increasing our sales, the lifetime value of our customers. So those are all kind of general goals that can be hit in these top 2 quadrants. So people are trying all the time to skip from the awareness stage at the very beginning at the bottom of this map to the ascension stage. I see it again and again when I see not just farmers, but other just businesses in general on social, like where they might just throw an ad in front of me and I don't even know who they are, but they're trying to pitch me this big project or big product. And I just want to say, why? Why are you doing this to me? I'm not ready to see that message yet. So I hope that this process of walking through the customer value journey helps you see that there are many steps that a person has to pass through. Think of it like a journey on a highway. Like there are milestones that you have to hit before you get to your final destination. You don't just snap your fingers and end up in Chicago. It doesn't work like that. So when you're building your marketing messages and trying to sell your products, you need to honor this process and you need to build multiple tools and vehicles that will speak to your ideal customer avatar depending on where they are in the journey. And that's why I talk a lot about how important it is to build a marketing machine, because it isn't just one thing that's going to do everything. You've got multiple pieces that are firing all at the same time that are talking to different people based on where they're at in the journey. Our goal is to basically create micro conversions, get them to move from one box to the next. And eventually, if we honor this process of time, they'll get to that ultimate, holy grail of promoter stage. So take a look at your business right now and ask yourself, am I violating the customer value journey? Are you trying to skip from awareness right to ascend, and putting tons of offers and upsells in front of people? Because you cannot skip the steps. You cannot propose marriage on the first date, right? You've got to break things up, and your copywriting and your sales process needs to honor the way that relationships move. So what I want you to do with this episode today, I hope this was really helpful, because when I learned this, it just completely changed the way I thought about marketing. Because I used to just have one message, buy, buy, buy. And now I realize that that's a
a message for a hot audience, but not for a cold or a warm audience. And I really have to create multiple versions of messages. And I have to create different goals for my ICA, depending on where they are in this process. And the role of marketing, email marketing, Facebook marketing, website marketing, whatever it is to assist in moving a customer from one stage of the customer journey to the next. So I want you to ask yourself, download this worksheet, and I want you to kind of take a look at it and then ask yourself, what is my strategy for each step? And where are people getting stuck right now in the journey? I didn't really talk about that, but one of the reasons your business may be struggling is because you've got a bottleneck. You've got customers coming into the pipeline, but maybe they're not converting because one of these steps right before conversion, isn't happening. And what if you just solved that problem and dealt with that one step that's being skipped? Would that maybe help you? So where are they getting stuck on the journey, and what can you build perhaps within that step to help them move to the next stage so they can get unstuck? So let me give you some examples before I wrap up of how one might move from stage to stage, what this looks like specifically and practically with marketing assets. Okay, so let's just look at the engage to subscribe stage. Okay, so I've got people who are in the engagement phase. How do I get them to move into subscribe phase? Well, I shared before that I have something called lead magnets. And these are PDF tools that I have created. I have attached them to a form using ConvertKit and a tool called Lead Pages. And people become aware that I have a lead magnet. Maybe I talk about, hey, I've got this great lead magnet, or I don't call it a lead magnet, but I'll be like, hey, I've got this great guide called the A to Z Vegetable Storage Guide. I might talk about that in a Facebook post. And then I have the link where they can go to subscribe to it. And when they click on that link, it takes them to a subscribe form. They give me their email address, and now they've become a subscriber. So I could put it in a Facebook post. I might talk about it in a video that I do and say, hey, I might teach something. And then I'm like, hey, if you want to download my harvest calendar, you can grab it at sharedlegacyfarms.com/calendar. And, again, I can get people through video. So that's one example of how to get people out of the engage phase into the subscribe phase. How about the convert stage to excite phase? Okay, so once somebody has purchased one of my products, what do I do next? Well, one strategy here would be my email onboarding sequence that I've created. That's 4 emails that drips out every few days, and it teaches them the basics of what they need to know about the CSA and how it works. I've also created a Facebook group for my CSA community, a private one, where we do a lot of extra value add. So those are 2 specific things that I have made to help move people from the convert phase into the excite phase. Let's talk about moving people from the excite phase into the ascend phase. So this is where I have different products. I have created different products in my sales funnel to try and entice people to buy additional things. And I will use email and my Facebook group primarily as vehicles to educate my current members of the fact that I have these offers. And sometimes it's just a one-time shot broadcast email, but sometimes it's like 2 or 3 where I have to really kind of try to sell the product over time to really get them to do it. So that's another example of moving someone from the excite phase to the ascend phase. And then finally, moving people from the ascend phase into the advocate phase, I talked about how I have a process for coaching the testimonial. So I have specific times of year where I ask people to share a testimonial about the farm. I do it at the beginning of March, but I also have it as part of my end of year email sequence to my customers where I ask them to kind of share with me what's one thing they've learned as a part of their CSA. I have it in the end of year survey. So I have several different touch points during the season where I reach out to my current members and I ask them to give me feedback, share why they love my product, and that coaches the testimonial and moves them from ascend to advocate.
All right, so what I want you to do is I want you to fill out this customer value journey worksheet, this map that you can download. You can grab that at mydigitalfarmer.com/004. Look for it in the show notes, and you'll be able to print out this particular map. And I just want you to fill out the grid. I want you to put it on your wall, memorize it, and maybe write out, what am I doing in each of these stages of the journey right now? And if there's a box that's totally empty where you don't have a process, then that's my challenge to you, is to think about, let's try to target one of these zones this year and build some kind of a process that's going to get at this particular part of the customer value journey. All right, my friends, that's all I have for you. I want you to take this message to heart. Our customers move through our brand in a very predictable way. And if you don't have all of these boxes firing, if you don't have all of these steps in the journey in place, people will bottleneck. And so it's really important to know what the phases are, and so that you can handle them, and so you can create messages that will speak to everyone in the different phases of their journey.
Well, I hope you liked that blast from the past. If you enjoyed today's episode, please go and leave me a rating or a review on Apple Podcasts, or even better, find the URL of this link and send it to a friend, text it to them and say, you need to listen to this. This was pretty cool. Now, if you want to get onto my email list so that I can teach you more stuff about farm marketing, then please go to mydigitalfarmer.com/subscribe and check me out on Instagram at mydigitalfarmer. I show up there a few times a week on Instagram stories, especially with a marketing tip and inspirational word of wisdom. I would love to coach you there and connect with you there. Thanks for joining me today, everyone. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.